I'd like to introduce Quentin Clark, SAP's Chief Technology Officer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning. That's good. Everyone's paying attention. I won't make everyone stand up again. I won't go through any of that. So I started at SAP just a few months ago. And the reason that I came to SAP is actually quite simple. The industry is going through an incredible transformation as it realizes the opportunities to deeply modernize. And there's no better place to lead that transformation than at SAP. Today's reality, we hear a lot about big data, we hear a lot about the cloud, we hear a lot about mobility, we hear a lot about analytics, machine learning. But the challenge is contextualizing, why is that so important, right? What does it mean in terms of changes that are going to impact every one of us in every role that we support across an enterprise? Part of it's about a high pace of change, and that's driven from a combination of what people believe about the cloud, what the new architectures, things like in-memory, are able to do, and it also is powered by what users are expecting. Users are walking around every day adopting new ways of working, adopting new applications in their personal lives, and they're striving to do it also in their professional lives. The advent of so-called self-service and IT managed is really about that trend. So how is it that we keep pace with this rate of change? We have to have agility. Leadership in the moment is another major impact all these changes are having. There is an expectation that as leaders, the executives, the line leaders, a store manager, a process manager, that they're able to operate and deal with the changes in their business, their landscape, the new information, something about social, something about an opportunity, that everything gets managed in real time. We're a long, long, long ways away from the days of memos being typed up by pools of typists and being sent around through interoffice mail over the course of days. Business really did at one point operate at a different pace. But the rate and pace of business has changed, and that's provided this interesting challenge to executives, where they need the power of information, the power of analytics, the power of the systems to help augment them and every other role in the enterprise. A lot of this, of course, is fueled by this explosion of data. And there are endless numbers of statistics about how many iPads could be filled up and stacked up to the moon with just Twitter data, or the amount of information it's being generated by any one application that's running in the cloud. There are all these statistics about the explosion of data. But you stand back and you look at it, you realize we live in a world where the information that human beings are generated as part of their daily activities and as part of their business processes are now being codified and being driven electronically like never before in the past. It's certainly true, we had a social world before the internet. I know it's hard to remember all this, but we had newspapers, and there was all this, remember the columns in the back of the newspaper, people writing to the editor? There in fact was a dialogue. But now it's all happening at the pace of people's thought, and it's all happening electronically, so it's out there. We had machines before, and they generated telemetry of a sort. Even in the beginning of the industrial age, you go back and you look at what jobs were super valued in factories. It was the person who developed the experience to feel the side of a machine, feel its temperature, and know it was running too hot, right? It was the person who could walk to some part of an assembly line and see the change in production rate and know there was a problem and even to be able to understand where it was. Well, now all that telemetry that it took a human being to notice in an analog way is now all being produced digitally. And in fact, a lot of that information is has been driven digitally for a long time. But it's only been recently that we've had the techniques in order to be able to capture the information and make sense of it. All this information requires flexibility. It requires the ability to understand that unstructured, that social data. It understands the ability to take in articles and blogs and whatever else. It takes the ability to deal with spatial data types. It takes the ability to deal with structured information that's being generated unlike any other time in history it's ever been created before. All those facets of data are really leading to this wave and this change that's motivated so much change in the data part of the software industry. A lot of what you hear about and know about the cloud, honestly, is a data conversation. When you talk about Hadoop, it was originated by a need to build a set of scalable services in order to power large-scale consumer cloud services. That's the origination of that technology. And so whether it's transactions or the conversational data or the machine data, the amount of information that's flowing through and that has to be contextualized and has to be understood by more roles within an enterprise, it is literally a tsunami. If we do not get in front of it, it in fact will overtake us. Competitively, it is our collective imperative to really embrace that information and to understand what it can possibly teach us and drive forward from a place of knowing more, being more informed, and doing it all in a much more real-time way. Meeting all these challenges, rising up to this, means the ability to create significant new value across every line of business, across every role in the enterprise. It'll remove complexity. The very notion that an end user could find out about some solution, go to Google Play, download an app, and be productive after logging in an instant, or go to a website and bring together some information and do analytics on it, do that kind of exploration, whether it's a business process they're trying to become more effective at, or it's an aspect of their business they're trying to become smarter about. Removing the IT complexity is the only path forward to deal with all these challenges. It is not going to be incumbent upon us to live in a world where IT has to deploy every single piece of every solution going forward. We have to embrace that. And so there is going to be a balance, right, between what is the IT managed and what is the self-service. We have an opportunity to run the business in real time. Consider the scenario where the local newscaster has, in one evening, done the investigative report, right, and taken some product and maybe not been very favorable to it. What is the ability for the local brand manager to act on that the very next morning, right? That has to be done in real time. What is the ability to take a signal from sales that happens in an afternoon as a deal becomes either more or less firm and change production capacity predictions for supply management and acquisition of the raw materials or the subcomponents, to have that happen literally as the sales pipeline is changing? That is running the business in real time. We've become accustomed to this as people a little bit, right? After all, what is email if not a real-time interface on what is on everybody's mind anywhere around the planet? But the business has to operate at that same scale and same pace. And the final opportunity this gives us is empowerment of every employee in every role in every business. Consider the retail store manager who is able to be much more effective about what is on the front of the glass, right? If you think about the retail scenario, especially in malls, what's at the front of the glass, what people see as they walk by, is this incredibly important component of how well their business is able to do that day, that hour, that day. By pulling together IoT data about who's in their store, who's in the mall, by pulling together social data about what is actually gaining traction or popularity or being talked about, both the good and the bad, and by integrating in real time their point of sales information so they know up to the minute things that are actually working, right? The kind of conversations they're having with the people coming in the store, the kinds of engagements that their associates are having with the people that are coming in the store, the kinds of promotions, what's in the front of the glass, for them to be able to operate literally hour to hour and optimize the revenue per square foot of that store. That is their job, and we will empower them. So too, a sales associate, right? Out working in an engagement with customers to get a product out there, to get it bought into. They too will have these real-time tools. They'll know who they're talking to, what's changed them, what's changed their business, what escalations have happened, what hasn't. The ability to follow up and take actions will become all done in real time from the kinds of experiences they expect, right? Which means mobility, it means tablets, it means they're not getting back in the car, driving to Starbucks, right, logging onto Wi-Fi, and then filling out a form somewhere. It means their entire modality has changed. This empowerment of every role in the enterprise is ultimately where a whole new generation of value will come from. As we solve this as an industry together, we will, in fact, augment the capabilities of every role, whether it's the CEO or the sales associate or someone doing repairs out in the field. The SAP platform, which really includes, of course, our business network and our application portfolio, both in the cloud and the traditional suite, and SAP HANA and the HANA platform. These are the assets that SAP is bringing to bear on helping us all rise to this great challenge and deliver on this new promise of value. We have the underlying platform capabilities. Unlike ever before, we have a complete set of platform components from a database itself and a complete set of data solutions all the way through the analytics and BI tooling and all the other pieces at the runtime level. We have the suite itself, and there's an entire generational change in the suite coming with S/4HANA, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. And then there's a whole new class and set of emerging solutions in the industry that are being built on and around this new set of capabilities. It truly is a revolutionary time. A couple of vignettes to set up the rest of the talk in terms of customer value that is being garnered out of this progression. Oleander is a power management distribution company in Europe, and by implementing on HANA, on Suite on HANA, they're able to improve their forecasting models. Power demand generation, the cost of that, where the power goes, how it's distributed, what the expectations are, what the needs are going to be, they manage this down to a very fine level. They have smart meters that are generating information about demand usage and, or power consumption in real time that they are integrating into an overall solution that's driving down their cost by improving their accuracy. For power management solutions, accuracy is everything. Accuracy of predictions, accuracy of understanding exactly how power is being used, and we'll actually see more about that a little bit later. This is what drives profitability and efficacy in that industry. University of Kentucky, this was a really interesting story. There's a key metric in universities, I assume actually in schools of all scales, about basically graduation rates, success rates of their students, right? And the University of Kentucky, by leveraging and building a solution around HANA that is reporting to them analytics on the signals that they get that predict whether or not a student's becoming disengaged and is at risk for disenrollment. They're able to look at that information and intervene with the capability they have to advise students, to get involved with them. That capability has changed dramatically their success rate with their students and getting them on to graduation. As a university, that's their primary mission. So for us to be able to help them fulfill their primary mission is, of course, incredibly gratifying. But they're also a business. And they want to, of course, have students that are successfully completing their program, make room for the right kinds of students to understand how to run their business most efficiently. And Varian is a medical supply company, a medical equipment company actually out of Palo Alto, California. And they make high-tech medical equipment. These aren't syringes and bedpans. These are X-ray machines and high-tech diagnostic tools. They have an incredible sea of complexity given the kinds of materials they use in their equipment, an incredible sea of complexity in terms of compliance and in terms of cost. By embracing SAP's application suite, they have been able to improve their ability to deal with their compliance oversight so that as they deliver a finished good directly into the hands of a customer, they understand exactly where it is in terms of compliance. And they're also able to better predict demand, which helps them with supply. And on these expensive components of these kinds of systems, that is also a major driver of profitability. So across a very broad spectrum of industries, we're seeing these examples of embracing this new sort of modern real-time way of approaching their landscape, and it's having this tremendous effect. So we'll talk across all three of these: BI and analytics, the platform, and the suite across the rest of our hour together. And to get that started, I'd love to invite Jane Landry to come up and give us a whirlwind tour, as it were, of all of our great BI work. Okay.
Thanks very much, Quentin. Good morning, everyone. My name's Jane Landry, and I'm the Global Leader for Business Intelligence at SAP. So let's talk about how you can simplify your organization through the use of analytics. Now, when you optimize your business around analytics, the potential is huge. Here are some of the key use cases that we are seeing in the market today. Everything from driving brand sentiment, understanding what people are thinking about your products and who is doing the talking, to predictive maintenance, to risk mitigation. And what's really interesting is how these use cases are being applied to different industries. Let's take asset tracking as an example. We're seeing use cases at companies like Caterpillar, where they've got RFID tags on the components of their machinery, so they know where those components are on their massive manufacturing floor as they're bringing them together. That same use case is used in retail. So when a customer comes in and wants that specific pair of shoes, the retailer knows exactly where it is on the shop floor. And at companies like Meritech, which is a seafood application provider, using their software, they track 70% of the seafood coming out of the North Sea, and they can track it in real time from hook all the way through the value chain through to the plate in the restaurant. And so when something goes wrong, they know where a fillet is, where it's come from, and every other piece that was part of that catch. So some amazing use cases there. But unfortunately, too few of us are able to capitalize on analytics today. In our organizations, less than 10% of us have access to analytics to do our jobs. And Gartner predicts that this is going to dramatically change, and that by 2020, 75% of us will have a need for analytics. But there's some challenges to overcome. And the first of those is around data. Quentin talked about the data tsunami. So how can you learn to surf that tsunami? By finding out first, where is that data? Not only within your organization, but outside the four walls of your organization as well. And how can you bring that data together very quickly to use it for decision making? And the second challenge is around people and users' expectations. We all expect to have those instant answers at our fingertips. So how can we get people up and running really quickly with a solution that's going to let them ask the first question and the second question and the third question so that they can self-serve in their business? These are some of the challenges we've been thinking about at SAP and have developed an analytics solution portfolio that can really take you and fulfill all of your analytics needs. Starting with the ability to plan, to set those plans for your organization using enterprise performance management solutions. And once you've established that plan, how do you keep a track of it? That's where our agile and enterprise-ready business intelligence solutions come in, so that you can keep a track and inform your organization of what's going on in real time, understand what's happened and what's happening right now. But that's also no longer enough. The next step is to be able to anticipate. Not only look in the rearview mirror, but let's look through the windshield and look at what's going to happen next. And this is where the realm of predictive analytics comes in. And this is an area that I think is really ripe for disruption, because to date, predictive capabilities have typically been only in the hands of a few data scientists within an organization, if you're actually lucky enough to have a data scientist. So we're looking at bringing predictive capabilities to a much broader set of users within your organization in a way that's going to make sense for them. And then last, but certainly not least, is the ability to see where are the risks in my plan and how am I going to mitigate those risks, discover those risks, and take advantage of governance, risk, and compliance solutions so I can really optimize the results for my business. So today, I'm really pleased to announce the latest addition to our business intelligence portfolio, introducing SAP Lumira Edge. It's the latest addition to the Lumira family, and SAP Lumira Edge allows you to quickly share your infographics, and your stories with teammates within your organization. It's really designed for those teams in HR, in sales, and marketing, and for small to mid-size organizations to get up and running really quickly. It's simple. You can install it in under 15 minutes and be productive in under an hour. It's fast. It uses a brand new in-memory engine that runs on standard hardware that you have today. And it's smart. Lumira Edge has brains as well as beauty. You can create those beautiful infographics and share them with others, but then they can be refreshed just with a single click. You can enable your end users to create their own visualizations and stories and infographics. And it's available today. You can request a trial at saplumira.com. And right after the keynote presentation today, we'll actually give you a deep dive demo at the SAP booth. But I wanted to give you a taste of what SAP Lumira Edge can do right here in this session. And so I'd like to invite to the stage Adrian Westmoreland. Adrian, let's see what SAP Lumira is all about.
I'm going to be giving you a quick overview of SAP Lumira and a brief taste of the new team server as well. So for this demonstration, I'm going to be playing the role initially of an HR analyst, and already I've acquired some data from both SAP and non-SAP sources, and I've started to visualize that information, started to understand the data that I'm bringing in from, in this case, it's actually an employee satisfaction survey. As I say, I'm an HR analyst, so I'm beginning to understand my individual employees. So I can take a look at the shape of that data. But within Lumira, what I can also do is I can actually go in and start actually changing some of those values inside here. So perhaps in this case, I'd like to roll Canada into the Americas. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly go in and replace Canada in this case, and I'll just make that into the Americas.
So Adrian, how is this different than what someone could do in Excel today?
Well, the key with this is that when I've made these changes, if I now go back and refresh this information, it's going to reapply those to my visualizations and to my infographics. So going forward, I can build some transforms into my data, and then what I can do is I can keep reusing those as I go forward and as I share this information with my colleagues and further outside the organization.
Fantastic.
So I've now rolled Canada into the Americas in this case. And I'm beginning to understand some of the data. But what I can also do with Lumira, as Jane mentioned, Lumira also has the brains behind this. So what I can do is I can go in and start looking at some of these more complex analysis. So for example, we're beginning to vend in some of our predictive capabilities right into the Lumira tools. And here what I could do is maybe I want to understand what's influencing my response rate. So Lumira will run some algorithms behind the scene, and then it'll give me a brief insight into really what is influencing my response rate. So it gives me a little bit of a deeper understanding than maybe what I'd be able to achieve just by looking at the numbers in the charts themselves.
Right, so here we've got some bar charts, but what other types of visualizations can you do within Lumira?
Yeah, absolutely. In Lumira itself, I've got pretty much any visualization I would care to lay out. So I've got a vast selection of the standard visualizations that are useful from an analysis perspective, but I can also include custom charts. So within Lumira, I can add in any custom chart that I need to visualize the data in the way that I think is most informative. And of course, going beyond that, when I've created my charts, what I can also do is I can begin to lay these out into these very attractive infographics. So what I've already done here is I've taken my employee satisfaction survey, and I've begun to lay that out into a format that I can now share within my organization. So I'm beginning to take this, place these on a page, and start to put this into a much more of a story to tell how things are going within my organization. And I can also preview this, so if I'm going to push this out to mobile devices, maybe I'd like to take a look at what this is going to look like if I push this out onto some mobile tablet type devices. Now, within this scenario as the HR analyst, what I'd like to do now is I'd like to just go back and maybe share this with some members of my team so they can take a look at this, validate my layout, some of my pieces of work, and then we can share it to a broader audience. And as Jane mentioned, with the new team server, I can very quickly share this within my organization. Now, I could, of course, choose to share this to a broader audience via the cloud, but in this case, the nature of my data, where I am with my analysis, I'm going to share this very quickly with one of my colleagues in HR. And I'm going to give that particular colleague, I'm going to give her the rights to, helps if I can.
It's always a test of the typing skills.
It is. I'm going to give her the rights to edit that document as well. And then when I choose to, I can hit the Save button there, and that'll push that out onto my local team server. And literally that took me 20 minutes to get up and running. It's my departmental solution, so the rest of my HR colleagues in this example can very quickly go in there and start accessing and analyzing and viewing that information. Now I'm going to quickly just jump straight to Alice here. And Alice is going to log into the system.
So you started off as the analyst doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and now you're handing to Alice in HR so that she can do some further analysis.
That's right. So I'm now shifting roles. I'm going to become Alice. And Alice is one of my colleagues. She's maybe not as proficient as me in some of the data wrangling techniques and some of the analysis, but she definitely understands the best way to get this information out in a way that makes sense to the rest of our colleagues. So she's going to take my infographic that I just pushed out to the server, and I'm going to, as her now, so I'm in my, over the web in my browser. So Alice is now going to take a look at that infographic that I produced. And Alice can, in this case, because I gave her edit rights, Alice can view this infographic. But Alice can also go in and she can make changes. So Alice would actually like to go in and maybe change some of the shape. And this being an infographic, I rely on Alice to make this more appealing. So Alice is going to go in there and she's actually just going to go in and change that column. And she's going to make that into, in this case, just a little guy.
Nice.
So she can change the shape of that and change the way that looks. But Alice doesn't just have the ability to edit my existing work. Alice can also create. So Alice can quickly go in and she can maybe add a page all over the web, and she can start dragging in some of these more complex charts that I've created and building her own infographics, building her own stories based around the work that I've done. And of course, when Alice is happy with this, she can save this back onto my team server. And then Alice, when she's created this, this will allow her to now go back and she can share this to a more broader audience. So again, using the team server, Alice can very quickly go in here and she can now share this. Maybe she's happy now with the changes she's made, with the additions that have been put in there. She may want to put that out to a broader group. She's going to add that now to my HR team. But this time she's only going to give them view rights. So she's happy with that, but she doesn't want the rest of the team to edit my changes or her changes. She can push that out to view. I'll hit done now, and that's now shared that to my HR team for them to analyze.
Fantastic, Adrian. So you can really tailor the experience for the level of skill of people within your organization.
Absolutely. So depending on who I'm pushing this out to, I can give them a slightly different experience. And that really is just a quick overview of the Lumira product and the team server there, just to highlight how very quickly I can acquire that data, I can manipulate that, lay that out into very compelling infographics and stories, and then share those stories with either a broader audience or with the team server with a smaller group, and give them a tailored experience depending on what they need to do with that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Adrian.
Thanks.
So today I get to make all of the announcements. So our second announcement for today is SAP Analytics 2.0. So you saw in Lumira Edge how you had some of those predictive capabilities already embedded within the Lumira solution to allow people to understand what the data looks like without having to do anything. But what if you want to take things further and actually create your own predictive models and analyses? With SAP Predictive Analytics 2.0, we bring together predictive analysis and infinite insight into a single solution. And that solution is real time. You can create models, train models, and then as trends start to hit in real time, you can take action automatically from those predictive models. It's big data ready. So it supports the broadest and widest set of data available in the market today. And it's fully embeddable. So you can take those predictive models and embed them in things like your call center application, so that your call center reps can see, for example, who's likely to churn and give them a real-time offer to keep them as a loyal customer. Now, before I leave you and bring Quentin back on, we've seen the SAP Analytics portfolio. We've taken a quick look at SAP Lumira Edge. Now let's see it in action. I'd like to share with you a story from one of our customers, Velux, a Danish window manufacturer. And here's Anders Reinhardt from Velux sharing his story.
I think we will reinvent the window. We will try to make the window even nicer. And you know, it's the last 2% that are the most difficult ones. I come here every day with a smile on my face because working with analytics and BI is extremely exciting. We are allowed to try new stuff out, and for me that's a dream scenario. I think our journey has been a journey going from trying to establish one truth to start sharing it. And that is a lot to do with making users able to work with information, publish new reports without calling somebody from IT. So actually creating some kind of agility around BI.
The major improvement is actually we have visibility and we have transparency. And that was something that we didn't have. Our sales were in effect a black box 2 to 3 years ago.
At Velux, more or less all lines of business are using our reporting system. We were around 800 users on the platform. Now we are 2,200 users. Expect an increase next year to 4,000 actually.
SAP BI allows us to create universes where we can blend data together, and it's also allowing greater accessibility for non-technical people. The user interfaces are becoming a lot more user-friendly. We can create some templates and then the users can drill down to the elements that are relevant to them.
We are using SAP BW on HANA. On top of that, we are using multiple front ends and moving towards Lumira. So more or less the whole suite of products actually. Prior to SAP HANA being part of our environment, we were using the Business Warehouse Accelerator, so we had good performance on our reports. After we implemented HANA, we now see a consistent fast response time of seconds. So we are talking about 4 to 5 seconds. I think there are multiple benefits. I think for me at least, running and operating a large reporting system, it's a lot about happy users who feel that we are assisting them in getting their job done in an easier way than before, in a faster way. Simplicity really does matter, and it matters a lot within business intelligence. But making something simple is not a simple task. SAP helps Velux run simple.
Now we'll talk about the platform. The innovation in SAP's platform is what has powered the solutions such as the Lumira Edge Server. If you ask our development organization, it changes the velocity in which we're able to produce products and gain relevancy for our customers. So our focus on the platform is important not just because it is an opportunity to help our customers solve more of their challenges, but also because it helps SAP develop better solutions. A lot of this really started with HANA. The roots of HANA, if you've ever heard Hasso Plattner speak of it, came down to a very simple question. How can we revolutionize the ERP space with another generation of capability? What would you do? And he had this incredible insight, which was about the database itself and the data model that's underlying every ERP CRM system on the planet. He asked this very simple question: what could you do if the database was capable of responding to anything it was asked to do in basically no time? And that led to the question of how is it one could build such a data capability? And that's where HANA came from. The needs of the time really are to have depth, to be able to go down and drill down to every record. This discussion we have about the real-time nature of information, about the need for end users to be empowered very, very deeply, means they have to be able to get access to the information and drill down to arbitrary levels of depth in whatever field they're in. There's a diversity of information. It's not enough just to support transactional records, but you have to be able to support the conversation coming out of social or the data coming out of machinery. It has to be up to date. And what I mean by that is a separation between data warehousing and analytics on one end and the transactional system on the other has to be brought back together so that I can ask questions about the here and the now in the context of knowing what has been. The performance obviously has to be there. If you're going to reimagine how these systems can work, you have to imagine from the standpoint of assuming that the system has the capabilities of performance that are truly revolutionary. And it has to be simple. It cannot be the case of having to deploy a very complex landscape and complex IT administration in order to get the thing tuned and working to these expectations. It has to basically just work out of the box and tune itself. This is where HANA came from. SAP HANA is truly a real-time data infrastructure. I didn't appreciate this before I came to SAP. That's the honest truth. But now that I've spent time with Hasso, as I've spent time with the engineering organization that builds SAP HANA, as I've spent time with the applications that have been taking advantage of HANA, I've come to understand what HANA really is. It is a different category of database. Traditional databases are effectively on their 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th versions, and their in-memory work is about adding features to the system, which already has a separation for their developers and their users between the transactional and the analytics. As a developer on these systems, you choose. As you create a table, is this going to be good at transactional things, or is it going to be good at data warehousing, or is it going to be good at analytics? And you have to make that choice as a developer, and then everything you do from that point is complexity for that developer. Not so with SAP HANA. HANA is a new category of transactional analytics, data processing, which from the get-go, as you create a table, supports the right kinds of transactional throughput, as well as the analytical queries on that same construct. And what you get by that is the ability to reason over the data in the here and the now, as well as the data that has an understanding of what has been. It brings together OLTP and OLAP into one construct, into one capability that developers and applications that are developing on the system get to take advantage of to truly differentiate what's possible. The value of this comes out in this word real time, right? It means the platform itself is able to operate in real time. Again, that separation between what is going on at the moment and what has just happened is no longer there. Applications get to be built to take advantage of this. When you can run queries across any number of dimensions against the data in its inherent form, you get to do things like eliminate indices and eliminate materialized views and eliminate other kinds of redundancy in the data model that is so prevalent in the data models that are supported by today's applications. These capabilities in HANA allow the applications to fundamentally reimagine what they're capable of. And it is that innovation that has pushed us to S/4HANA. And again, we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. And it opens up a new set of capabilities on the analytics side. You can now consider providing the access to ask any question about any part of the system at any time from anyone. And while there will always be BI systems and analytics caches and work groups and shared models and security and all this stuff, at the core, if the system isn't supporting real-time capabilities, the edges have a hard time supporting real-time capabilities. And so the advent of the data structures that came as part of the development, the creation, the inception of SAP HANA are now core to how the entire industry is undergoing change. So a little bit about the platform. It takes more than just a database to have a whole platform. And SAP HANA Platform has all that complete set of capabilities. On the database side, we've talked about the convergence between transactional and analytic. We've talked about the need to support multiple data types, whether it's spatial or whether it's just indexing on data that's in the system and access, whether it's the transactional records themselves, whether it's text data. You have to have a complete system that is able to reason over the wide breadth of information that applications now are in need of. You have to have the ability to support it at incredible scales. HANA scales up to the highest scale Intel systems today on the multi-terabyte, tens of terabyte systems for very large data models. But there's data systems that go into the historical that are even bigger than that. So we've introduced data tiering into SAP HANA to support even larger sets of data that are often accessed more infrequently. The historical data, it no longer changes. And you can take advantage of that fact by putting into another structure that is optimized for being disk resident and for being more densely compacted and not having to be modified. And the work we've done in data tiering supports this very directly. You have to be able to support streaming data. The data, as it is changing the world, is streaming into the database, not just through the applications, but through streaming services to allow ingress into the system. All these things together provide a set of data capabilities in and around HANA that allow you to start to build these modern applications. At the platform level in the application tier, you have to have the runtimes. You have to be able to access this data from a variety of standards, whether it's ADO.NET or JDBC or just through OData. There has to be a number of open windows into the data and into the data systems. The SAP HANA Platform also provides capability in the mid-tier to run websites, to run code and JavaScript, and to build solutions in and around the HANA database in a complete set of capabilities for the application tier, including our application lifecycle management to manage the applications and their versioning and how they're deployed, and including a UX framework. Part of what we talked about was empowering every user. Well, users are on different devices, they're on different form factors, they're in front of different screens. And Fiori uniquely is an infrastructure that's allowing us to project user experience down into many different ways to reach the users where and how they're expecting to use things. And then you have to allow this data in the system to be integrated at an even higher level. Smart data access and integration with R allows new classes of solutions to be built around the emerging world of advanced analytics, machine learning, deep learning. There are solutions that are growing up around the HANA platform that are empowering a whole new class of analytics capabilities and integration solutions across many different data landscapes. These sets of capabilities together are available on-premise as part of the overall HANA platform and in the cloud, and our solutions empower hybrid between our applications and our platform, between our platform running on-prem and in the cloud. The reality is that everyone in this room, I suspect, probably 100% is already dealing with a hybrid world. Maybe it's just the email that's already moved to the cloud today. Maybe it's some BI functionality you've moved to the cloud today. Maybe it's one specific application that you've adopted, like SuccessFactors, in the cloud today. And maybe you have the suite on-premise. Maybe you have logistics on-premise. Maybe you have your HR system on-premise. Maybe your BI solutions are on-premise. Every one of us is now dealing in a world that is hybrid. In fact, I don't even like to talk about it as hybrid. I like to speak of it as a continuum of solutions. Our data landscape and our application portfolio for the foreseeable future will be a continuum of capability that we run and operate on our own, in our own premises or with our own data center partners, and in cloud infrastructure that's provided in a more turnkey way, like the Concurs or the Fieldglass. We'll live in this continuum. We'll build solutions taking advantage of this continuum, allowing data to be resident in the places where it makes the most sense, allowing solutions to be accessible all over the planet, and providing a set of capabilities that every end user in our enterprise can take advantage of. The HANA Cloud Platform is a key part of realizing that continuum. HCP is a complete set of application development services that start with HANA and complete with the UX framework in Fiori. It's designed so that we're going to make things easy, right? For our partners to build solutions, for our customers and developers that are within our customers, whether they're IT or the departmental level, to be able to get in there, adopt, extend the applications, build new solutions, and get that done as quickly and efficiently as possible, and get it deployed and get into production. Analytics users have to be able to pick this up and use it. We need to be able to allow end users to log in and adopt these solutions and participate in these dialogues and participate in the new value that these applications, the analytics solutions, are providing in a turnkey way. Users are going to need to be able to just go to a store, the store of their local device, and download applications, log in with their corporate identity, and be productive using those applications instantly. So ease of use is an imperative for us as we drive down this path of providing a complete enterprise business application solution platform. Has to be comprehensive. The data, which is all the way from, of course, the core data systems themselves, including HANA, all the way up and through the the ability to run all the kinds of analytics capabilities, the analytics systems themselves, run times to build that custom application code, to build the solution itself and the application logic and runtime, and then ensuring that mobility is there. HTTP has unique and sophisticated mobility solutions that are turnkey to allow building applications to extend down into mobile devices. Deeply customized, deeply integrated across the landscape. It has to be open. Notably, in HANA today, we've embraced JavaScript in XS as a way of building applications and solutions around HANA. That openness will continue. We've also embraced OData as an open interop standard. It doesn't mean we've abandoned our legacy in ABAP and the skills that we have deployed literally to hundreds of thousands, millions of people around the world. We'll also bring them forward and bring them into this new world. So it is a time where development expects to be able to develop in the ways of the time, right? To be able to pick up the tools that they're learning or that they're getting accustomed to or that are new and advantageous for some purpose and integrate them into our solutions. And so we will have that open environment as well as supporting the incredible depth of legacy systems that we have today. It'll have to be integrated. The solutions to take advantage of Ariba as you're building an application that's integrating with your suite on-premise. That kind of integration has to happen. The ability to integrate into other data sources has to happen. And the ability to integrate solutions across the on-premise deployment as well as the cloud also has to be part of this platform. So whether it's Concur or Fieldglass or Ariba or other cloud-born solutions like CEC, integrating down into Suite on HANA and into S4 is an imperative. Where that is running in the cloud, in our managed solutions or public solutions for S4, or whether it's running on-prem. And the HANA Cloud Platform is optimized for business. We are not seeking to become the general purpose scalable public cloud platform that the next Snapchat is built on. We're seeking to partner with you and our solution integrators to add value into the enterprise landscape, to solve business challenges and open up new business capability for users. With that context, we have this great new set of analytic capabilities that we introduced and announced, but I'd like to invite Charles Gadala to come up and really demonstrate what the analytics solution is all about. Charles?
Thank you very much, Quentin.
Thank you.
So allow me to spend a couple of minutes to show you how we're going to build some models, but the real reason here we're doing it is to operationalize it. As Quentin was saying, the whole purpose is to make it simpler, make it real time, to drive these apps to the cloud or to drive these apps onto the in-database predictive analytics that we're trying to develop here. So to do that, I'm going to build you a model. Now, you may not understand all the steps I do. Don't worry, we're just going to try and catch crooks in Central Park, and we're going to show you how we catch them, okay? So when we do that, we're going to use this tool called SAP.
There won't be a quiz afterwards? They understood all the...
I was thinking of an analogy earlier. It's like, you know, if you think of food, because I like food, you can see things like chocolate and peanut butter. You know, they're both good on their own, but if you put them together, they're fantastic, right? It's the same with HANA. Sorry, it's the same as HANA and analytics, right? If you put it together, it really works much better, right? So that's what I'm going to try and show you today.
Great.
We're going to start it off by building a quick model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some data, and we're going to take a look at this data set from Goala. Goala is like an open source Foursquare program. It was a project that went from 2007 to 2012 and was closed after that by the academia that they were using. So we're just going to load up the data. We're going to bring in the description of the data. And now I'm going to build what's called a composite variable. I'm literally going to associate the idea of position with latitude and longitude so that they're now identified as one variable instead of two lookups that I have to do in the tables. And if I hit next, we're good to go ahead and identify from this like Foursquare check-in, what was their latitude, what is the longitude, whether or not they're a tourist in Manhattan, right? So if they've been there less than a week, we can tell, yeah, this person, we don't see them again in 5 years, maybe they were a tourist.
So to ensure we're all following along, we have a solution where there is a Foursquare-like app the city of New York has allowed tourists to use and leverage for value they get.
Yes.
That's during all this telemetry, which
yes.
we now brought into the system. There was a definition file where some data wrangler helped identify the schema of that data, if you
Correct.
will. And now I'm able to sort of look across that and say, okay, what kind of information am I looking at? Now what can I do with it?
Absolutely. So we're just going to define the objective. Our target is the tourist. So we're going to find out where they went when they visited New York. So I'm going to hit a next button here. And we're going to generate a model. What this means, the ease of use aspect was I didn't pick any algorithms, right? I just hit the next button and I get my model. So now I'm going to go ahead and view it. I'm going to tile it up. I'm going to do the selection export. And now you can see a mapping technology which will render, showing us the island of Manhattan in New York. And we're going to see by color, like a heat map, what were the most popular or most visited locations by these users of the Gowalla application. And you can see at the bottom near Ellis Island, that was the most popular. It's the red tile. So the Statue of Liberty being the most popular.
So the spatial data support was smart enough to be able to understand the individual pieces of record information and translate that into what is that actual map coordinate, integrate back into Google Map to show me all this
Exactly
visually.
So we used the HANA spatial analysis, we used the text analytics, we used a little bit of the graphing engine, and also some of the graphic engines inside of the spatial analytics combined with the geolocation inside of HANA. So we rendered all this back on the map, and what we can do is start to look at, okay, so that's my most popular location. What you see with these yellow pin markers, if we zoom down a little bit, we also get the most popular path that the tourists take when they visit Manhattan, which is through Central Park. So as I'm zooming down here, you can see they start off near the carousel in the Central Park lawn. They kind of go through the Bethesda Memorial down to the boathouse, and then they end up near the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
So this step is really important, right? The human beings are really, really, really good at identifying patterns when they can see things.
Yeah.
Their visual cortex is incredibly powerful. In fact, more powerful yet than any machine learning algorithm or anything else.
Absolutely.
So by helping people visualize things, they can snap into, oh, here's an unusual thing in the pattern, let me investigate further, let me understand this more deeply.
Correct. So as these tourists are moving along, in an example for business, you could be putting billboards or food carts or that kind of thing. But I'm going to take a different spin on it. Let's say that one of these tourists or several of these tourists have had their credit card malfunction or something's happening. So we're going to try and figure out why. What's going on with these guys, right? So we're going to take it into a social network analysis. This is like a community graphic. We're identifying who are the people that are being affected by this transaction, right? So I'm going to pick a particular user, display them. So user 4584 here is in the middle of my screen. I'm going to grab, I'm going to grab 4584 or whoever they are.
We've anonymized the data a little bit, perhaps.
Grab them a little bit. And then you can see all of the locations that 4584 visited and their stay in New York, okay? Because they were the tourists. We're going to go back and grab one of the other tourists that were there at the same time. And we're going to view them in that same graphic. And then we can combine both of these together. And what you're going to notice is how do we look at these two users and the way that they interacted in locations. So if this particular user in the red had their credit card stolen or there was a unauthorized transaction on their credit card, what locations did they visit in relation to my other customer in the green over here? If these were the locations in common, could we then identify if something is happening, there's a tampered with the machine or something's happening when the credit cards are being read? So that's kind of the way we start to go real time with doing the analysis with the power of HANA and predictive chocolate and peanut butter.
Great.
Thank you, Quentin.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Charles. It is solutions like that really highlight the power of this set of capabilities that are emerging around HANA, right? And around this revolution is taking place in the platform to embrace this real-time modality. It is the case that in that scenario, you could imagine someone who's responsible in the government in New York, in the city government in New York, for helping deal with fraud detection and prevention and investigation, getting a couple of phone calls, or even just listening in to the social media and discovering that this pattern exists, pulling up these records, right, very simply at scale, visualizing these things and seeing this pattern instantly, and then sending out folks to investigate those particular locations where they're having these issues. It is a scenario where someone could go from understanding that they have a possible problem to being able to take action on it literally within minutes. That is what we're talking about when we talk about pace and the change in expectations and being able to run a business in real time. And after all, a city, of course, is also in some ways a business. All across the industry, this is being recognized, right? The power of this innovation. And momentum has been building in the HANA platform for some time now. At the customer level, we have all these incredibly good examples. We start with some of those. We've seen some of those throughout the keynote. We'll even end on one of those. But people are seeing this incredible transformation by adopting even just Suite on HANA to begin with, changing what's possible in terms of faster prediction of supply and control reports in finance and these kinds of things. We're seeing it as people are adopting S4 in finance, and we'll talk more about that even at SAP in just a little bit. And we're seeing it as people are building BI solutions around HANA and Lumira, changing what's possible for end users to reason over. By getting all a set of queries in BI down into the 1 to 2 to 3 second time frame, it creates a conversation between an end user and the BI system. It allows them to explore the information at the pace of their thought and of their interest, instead of having to send a batch report off. All these changes together are changing dramatically what our customers have been able to do. Our partners have been an incredible part of supporting, embracing this new modality and embracing this coming future. Whether it's our partners on the hardware side, folks like Intel and HP, or folks that are helping us get solutions delivered. The partnership we have in the cloud, IBM, as an example, across our ecosystem, our partners too are getting it. They understand where the industry needs to go, and they're embracing the set of changes that we're pursuing and the delivery modes that we're after. Interestingly enough, the other place that we're seeing a lot of traction is with startups. And there's a broad range, and it's worldwide. We have startups in Boston, we have startups in India, and we have startups in Israel. We have literally, and of course, in the Silicon Valley. We have startups all over the world that have recognized HANA for what it is, which is a foundational change in how data management can work and how it can become a more of a real-time system. With the built-in capabilities around analytics and data management, they're seizing this as an opportunity to invent new capabilities around data and around application solutions themselves. One of those startups is here with us today. I'd like to welcome Dan Goldenblatt, who's the VP of Marketing at App Orchid, to come up and show us an incredibly innovative set of solutions they're building that they're now seeking that value with customers.
Thank you, Quentin.
Dan, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone. My name is Dan Goldenblatt. I'm the VP of Marketing at App Orchid. At App Orchid, we offer app-based cognitive computing solutions using SAP HANA. We utilize the Internet of Things together with structured and unstructured data in order to solve business problems that could never before be achieved. I'm going to take profit leaks in utilities as a use case. Profit leaks are financial losses incurred by utilities as a result of revenue and transmission losses, power theft, asset degradation, etc. This is not a new problem. Utilities have been dealing with this forever. And as you can see here, it's quite a big problem, up to 10% of utilities' revenues. This is billions of dollars across the industry.
So this is beyond just optimization based on prediction and supply and all that. This is really, as they're delivering, they're losing power from people hooking up their own wires and stuff like this.
They're losing from that, from transformers that are failing, from a whole slew of reasons, and they know about it, but it's very difficult, and it's been almost impossible for them to systematically identify and address these problems.
Because they have to pinpoint down to exactly where it's happening.
Exactly, and this is where App Orchid, together with SAP HANA, comes into the picture.
Great.
So, unlike traditional BI, App Orchid takes structured data, but also unstructured data, some of which that is locked or trapped in our heads, in our computers, in presentations, emails, memos. And we call that tribal knowledge. It also allows us our system also allows us to capture and utilize knowledge and experience that exists in aging and in retiring workforce. I'm going to say a bit about that later. So this is where we start. We have a set of domains, and in this demo, I'm going to focus on the payment and collection domain. The system, as you mentioned before, deals with plain language, natural language. So we can ask a question in plain language, and the system will choose the relevant apps for us to solve this problem. And these apps are cognitive in nature. They model how a brain works. And a brain, ladies and gentlemen, is actually exactly what we've built using SAP HANA. So what we do with the brain is we feed it and train it, and I'm going to try to do that right now. So we're talking about unstructured data.
That's what I should tell my 13-year-old about his homework. It's feeding and training. It's a good thing.
Exactly. So we're going to take here a file that includes terms and definitions. We'll take a professional power theft document.
So these are just PDF documents. They're not, no data wrangler went in and codified all the words themselves or something.
PDF,
this is just a PDF your system is smart about how to interpret.
Absolutely. And here we take a map. Now, all this data is crunched by App Orchid using SAP HANA. Then we go to some structured data. And here we have smart meter data. This is big and structured data spanning 3 years. You can see here January, February till December, year 1, year 2, year 3. And here I have my insight dial. And you also mentioned the speed of thought. Mm-hmm. And here you can see that as I move my speed dial, the HANA gives us financial insights really at the speed of thought.
So every one of these mouse hovers is another query into the database to show you some analytic view, if you will, of that node.
Exactly. And as you can see here in the traditional BI, it can't do that. So, and now we're going back to the information that's trapped in our workforce's head. So we have a field engineer, and he can give us an input about peak usage or significant profit losses here. Now, that data is then matched with the multiple layers of structured and unstructured data in order to give us as many possible pinpoints of profit leaks. So this data is now correlated with terabytes and terabytes of data in order to allow us really to deliver an optimal solution. And this is all done, of course, with SAP HANA. Here we have, we mesh together the tribal knowledge together with the structured and unstructured data. We use our machine learning capabilities in order to, just one sec. We use our machine learning capabilities to build internal footprints that cross all the assets across all the geographies. And SAP HANA allows us to take even a very small set of data and cross it across the entire user base, delivering store procedures that HANA does automatically for the user. So now to the outputs. So the blue that you see here, the different shades of blue represent the different types of profit leaks that we mentioned earlier.
So different levels of it. So it's broken down by geographic centers. And so the darker is sort of the worst or the lighter?
Well, it could be the worst. It could be a different type. It could be assets, some theft, some transmission losses, etc. And the red represents, it could represent areas of crime, other socio-demographics, or defaults on payments. And now the utility has the capability to pinpoint and prioritize its profit losses in order to deal with those 10% that for decades they have had to take as a given, and to reduce that, and every reduction goes to the bottom line of the company. So to conclude, what App Orchid has done is not a faster or a stronger or a sleeker next generation of solutions. What we have here is actually a paradigm shift into the cognitive enterprise. And this could only be done with SAP HANA.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tim. Now we'll talk about the applications. Notably, we saw an application in action, an application that's being built around the AppOrchid solution in the power utility management, power delivery management space for customers. But SAP broadly has a suite of applications that it brings to bear to help enterprises at all scales meet their challenges and operate effectively and efficiently. The journey to embrace HANA and the journey to create this modern world started really with finance. So when we built HANA, one of the first things that we did was just plummet in underneath the existing system and just see what happened. And things got faster, right? To Dan's point, it was an incremental, generational kind of good change, but it was not yet revolutionary. It's not yet a paradigm shift. And as we looked into the specific workload of core financials and ERP, we started asking the questions, what if you took advantage of HANA incredibly deeply? And this is really the beginning of the S4 journey. In financials, we're able to, by taking advantage of the elimination of the views and the aggregates and the redundant data, and start to retool parts of the application to open up new capability and take advantage of HANA very directly. It changed what the app was capable of doing. It's near real time for period closing. You can actually even run simulations and forecasts on close. It helps you identify where to focus. You know, as you're getting to the end of that month, end of that quarter, end of that year. Helps tick and tie across where we really are with revenue and where the field is focusing by being able to do these kinds of near real time analytics and forecasting. And it's able to provide near real-time cost analytics. So instead of waiting for a project, a BI project off on the side, sucking data out, building a data warehouse to dig into what's changed in our travel and expense, or what's changed in our supply management costs, or whatever the nature of the challenge is, we're able to, as finance has adopted HANA very deeply, solve those challenges, meet those needs in a real-time fashion. This is at the heart of SAP S/4HANA, is the reimagining of the ERP, CRM space by building natively and deeply, taking advantage of the new capabilities that HANA represents itself. It allows us to deliver a set of solutions that empower every enterprise to run simple. It's been a bit of a journey. Right, we first start the scene with the classroom, all right, where Hasso Plattner was talking to students about imagining a new ERP system that ultimately led to the realizations around what to do differently in the data space to empower that, and that led to HANA, the in-memory database engine. One of the first things we did with it was look in the BW space, where we believed its inherent capabilities would have a great advantage in providing a differentiated set of performance capabilities, which it did. And so the BW itself was able to transform, become more performant, become near real time, and fantastic for a set of solutions beyond even what it was doing before HANA came into the picture. Then we started building the suite on top of HANA. And because of the compatibility that HANA has with the NEDB systems, we're able to allow our customers to run the SAP suite on HANA directly on top of our platform. And it creates certain advantages right away. Without the applications themselves having to have been transformed, we get out of that a more performant system and a more accessible system, opening up, again, that nature of performance, more real-time in nature, and opens up another set of analytics solutions directly on the operational product. Then we start looking at what is it going to take to truly transform what's possible. As we think about adding features to take advantage of HANA, we looked at how finance was implemented, and we started to deeply take advantage of it. So we've reduced the data set, we've reduced the data model, we've reduced the number of tables, we've reduced how the application code has to deal with the differences and the nuances of the data model. By building the data model principally in HANA, we're able to drastically simplify the financial solution itself, up in the application code and down in the data model per se. And even though SAP HANA creates views for the other materialized views and aggregates and replicated data sets that exist for compatibility purposes, by embracing, digging deep into how finance is built, we're able to make everything much more efficient up and down. And that's truly transformed what finance is capable of. That was the beginning of our journey towards S4. Having proved it to ourselves that there is a tremendous advantage to be gained by really retooling and rebuilding the solutions, the workloads within the suite on HANA, we then turned to the rest of the suite. And this is what S4 HANA represents. It is that generational change. Consider this. In an enterprise software industry where products are on their 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th versions, we're on version number 4 in the suite. This is an incredible signal about how important this is in terms of a generational change. The last one we did was R3, where we went to client-server architecture, early 3-tier architecture. S4 represents building on this new real-time data capability modality. And it comes beyond just the database. We've also brought forth, over the last few years, Fiori to drastically simplify the user experience. Yes, we will run the existing SAP GUI side by side with deployments of S4, but we're also introducing SAP Fiori, new screens and solutions, simplified user experiences to empower people to work more efficiently and to work more quickly and to have a more modernized user experience. We're also changing the configuration model, driving to a place where we're helping customers get to standard and have the extensibility and configuration that balances our collective need to continue to move the capabilities of the ERP software forward, as well as have the kinds of customizations and depth of specific solutions for every customer. By using the extensibility framework, we're able to balance those two needs. And so the concept behind S4HANA is that we'll continue to be driving these quarterly updates. Whether it's on-prem in our managed cloud or in the public cloud, we will continue to drive the updates of the software. And as customers get on to standard and standard extensibility, we're going to be able to achieve that together. And so you won't be stuck in the past with a set of customizations that you don't know how to have the efficiency of validation and testing to move forward with every release that we ship. Instead, we'll be living in a world where together we're able to move the core software forward, as well as preserve in a compatible way the customizations that you've had to do and embrace for your own business. SAP itself, as you can imagine, is running HANA and is running Suite on HANA and is also embraced the simple finance capabilities of S4. We ourselves run in this continuum between what's public and what's private, whether it's our Ariba systems that are managing literally thousands of suppliers on the Ariba Business Network, which is running in the cloud, which integrates to our on-prem supply management integration with the suite. Whether it's the cloud for people, where we have success factors. We recently just got through our own annual review process. We had 70-something thousand users that were writing their performance reviews, managers doing the assessments, doing the rewards evaluation. All this happened at that scale, delivered through success factors, which integrates down into our on-prem HCM system in the suite. So all across the set of capabilities, we ourselves live in this continuum and are able to work with our customers as a result to help them also embrace how to live and get the best value out of this continuum. We have incredible systems, as you imagine, on-prem. Right? ERP, the Suite on HANA is supporting, I think this slide must be a little outdated. I think we're at 70-something thousand employees now. We have the business warehouse supporting all of our field operational capabilities, supporting thousands and thousands of users that are accessing that data in those systems every day. So all across, we are at scale, fully powered by HANA. The work we've done to run SAP on Simple Finance has been this profound impact on the finance organization. It's funny to watch guys in finance get their eyes really lit up, right? Get really into the technology itself. They understand the value. They're able to produce close much more quickly. They're able to simulate certain conditions to understand where the leadership needs to really focus as we get close to a quarter close or a year close. We have dramatically reduced the size of the system, right? Today we've gone from 1.8 terabytes to manage SAP's ERP system down, from 7.1 terabytes down to 1.8 terabytes. And we're in the middle of work that will also get us down, we believe, to about half a terabyte. Down from 7 down to half terabyte. That change in footprint, yes, it's a long-term cost reduction, but it really means that the model fits in memory and gets all the advantages of the HANA system by being able to embrace that real-time modality. The software has allowed us to dig in differently, which has given us better tools, and we're able to get at the close more quickly and do the investigations on the aberrations. We have 40% fewer post corrections after the financial close of the quarters and years, and that's a real return, right? It's all across the landscape, whether it's how IT runs the system, or whether it's the kinds of capabilities that our financial users are able to get out of the system. SAP itself has been getting this tremendous value out of the simplicity of S/4HANA in the financial space. And that brings us back to the overall frame we talked about. We live in this environment where everything around us is accelerating. Everything around us is changing. The advent of cloud computing, the expectation of mobility, the expectation of real time across all sorts of different job roles, these are all pushing for change in the enterprise software market. I'm here to help SAP work with you to drive us and bring us through, lead us through this change. SAP solutions, the suite, S4, the revolution that's happening there, the HANA itself and the HANA platform that surrounds HANA, the ability to deliver on-prem and in the cloud, and our business network solutions across things like Concur and Ariba, Fieldglass. These are all capabilities that together work in symphony, in concert, in order to help you get to that next stage in your own businesses. Ultimately, I think SAP has this great opportunity to transform every business, every kind of business, into a software company. We heard this thread weave throughout the presentation today, where people are using the power of information, the power to process data differently, the integration to end-user solutions, and it's technology that's changing the business. However, the power is being generated in a couple of our examples is not being done by computers, right? We're still talking about geothermal or wind or dams or coal or nuclear, whatever it is, that technology in that business hasn't changed. But we're changing the bottom lines, we're changing the profitability, and we're changing the competitiveness of these companies because we're turning them into technology companies. And that is what this opportunity really is. Business transformation comes from us embracing the opportunity to become high-tech companies across all different scales of business. And as we do that, it simplifies the business, it simplifies our ability to compete, it allows us to innovate differently, understand and focus on the right problems, and innovate new solutions to bring the business forward to compete differently, and allows us to accelerate all of these efforts, brings us to a new world. I have one last little treat, which is I had the privilege a number of weeks ago of staying on stage with the commissioner of the National Hockey League and jointly launching between the NHL and SAP co-innovation that we did to bring new sets of statistics and analytics capabilities around the game, the players and the teams, et cetera, to fans of the NHL everywhere. It was a delightful experience. It's an incredibly fun project, of course, and hockey is of course a ton of fun. So with that, I will leave you. Have an incredibly great conference. Thank you for being here these couple days.
Since first taking to the ice in 1917, the National Hockey League has seen amazing growth. In 97 years, there have been 7,250 players, 50,000 regular season games, 3,950 playoff games, 310,000 regular season goals, and 2.5 million shots on goal. From the first puck drop, the method of capturing, formatting, and distributing NHL statistics has evolved as much as the game itself.
The stats landscape right now in the NHL is kind of all over the place. One of the goals is to really make sure that all of the tools that fans need are on NHL.com.
With new teams, new markets, new competitors, new media, and new technology, the speed and demands of today's game require the NHL to be more agile, from the back office right down to the ice. The partnership with SAP brings together two best-in-class organizations and uses leading technology to begin building the foundation of the game for the 21st century.
What SAP is going to allow us to do is really tell stories, to let our fans go deeper and deeper into the game.
Fans are super hungry for content. With NHL.com/stats, we're going to deliver a level of insight at the player and team level that hasn't been seen in hockey before.
The process for this redesign has really been a true collaboration between the NHL and SAP. It's just an overall updated look and feel. We really want to give the users a clean experience, easy to navigate it, and also give a level of interactivity.
The game is so fast and it's so skilled. What we're working with SAP on is how to basically slow that game down through the use of data to be able to give us a digital record of everything that happens on the ice.
And with that, there'll be a wealth of new metrics that can then go into, one, the HANA database, and two, the new NHL stats section. Now that they have the authentic data and this great set of tools, what are some new stories and new angles we can tell about the sport of hockey and about the NHL players?
The full archives of NHL stats dating back to 1917 will soon be available to the public for the first time ever.
So that means all of the new tools that we're giving for advanced filtering and visualizations, fans can now then apply that throughout the entire history of the league.
So now you can begin to use that statistical data to compare a Sidney Crosby to a Wayne Gretzky, to a Gordie Howe.
The NHL and SAP will continue to look for new insights and innovations that will improve the game. The next generation of hockey is about to begin.
I've seen what we've already done since this short period. Such great, exciting things are on the horizon.